Okay, here we go.
Chicka,
Yeah.
chicka. Yeah.
Kill Bill and Rev. We don't suck. Ooh. Those fools in the liberal media might tell you one thing, but I'll tell you the truth. Goddamn, Jon Stewart.
Welcome back to the We Don't Suck podcast. It's your host Rav and Kill Bill, and the place to be.
This is me, Jon Stewart.
It's your host Rav and Jon Stewart, and the place to be. How you doing, John?
I'm doing good. The Daily Show really be hitting.
Thanks, man. I made it.
Yeah, man. You wanna you have we ever thumb wrestled before?
I don't think we have. It's a little bit intimate of a sport, I find.
It gets like the sexual tension gets real high, but you know, I think the payout is what's really important. And I think that thumb wrestling is I think all your bros should thumb wrestle at some point. Like just stare deeply in each other's eyes and just thumb wrestle it out.
What if your best friend doesn't have hands?
I don't know, man. Are they really your best friend? Because then they can't dap you up.
So welcome back to We Don't Suck. We're cooling. We're cooling on a nice, cool afternoon. Afternoon for me, morning for Bill.
Yeah, it's a good sunny fucking day.
It is. It's sunny here
It's
too.
good outside.
We've been recording a lot lately in general. As you guys have seen, we've been putting out a lot of Let's Play stuff today, as of late. Actually, today is interesting, Bill. We're recording this, obviously, in advance. But today, specifically, that we're recording this, our 100th video on the channel will be uploaded, which is kind of tight.
Holy caco.
It is pretty cool. So we've been playing a lot of games lately. I've been editing a lot. And so I wanted actually to talk about editing a little bit more. I know I talked about it a couple episodes back. And I mentioned that we were going to be looking for an editor soon, which we are. And a few people actually hit me up. Some people emailed me. Some people DM'd me saying that they'd be interested in potentially trying out. And a couple people have actually attached some of their work, which I really appreciate. That gives me a better reference point. So I decided to take the opportunity on this podcast to sort of make it official that we are now looking for an editor. And I wanted to sort of spell out the process, the process for application, what it would be, what would it entail, and what would the work entail overall. I think I need to be a little bit transparent. I think it helps for us to be transparent. Obviously, I'm not going to say everything that we do behind the scenes because I don't want to bore the listeners. But I do want to go over a few key things that basically make the editing job what it is. Currently, I am the editor for all the Let's Play and live action stuff, and Bill edits the podcast episodes.
Yes.
So, thanks.
Yeah, I had to add that in because I felt like you didn't explain it well enough. So I had to put my 2 cents on it.
I'm glad you clarified that. Yeah, for sure. And so, okay, so first and foremost, just want to talk about what it is that I do when I edit. As you guys may know, Bill and I are separated by an entire ocean.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of land as well.
And a divorce. Bill records all his bits and parts in South Carolina, and I record all of mine in the UK, in London. And we edit everything in a way, and we record everything in a way where we try to minimize the lag, the delay between us, and make our content as immersive as possible and almost kind of emulating couch co-op type of play, you know? That's how I've always seen it. So whenever we play games and we talk, I feel like I'm right there next to Bill because in the past when we lived together during, the Ramona summer, we did play games together
next to one another and, making funny comments as we did it. So now it doesn't feel too much different for me. But that being said, as great as technology is, there are certain difficulties that we have to adjust to as a result during the editing process, or the editing stage, rather.
Yes.
So
For sure.
for one, saying, the whole editing thing, the delay. Sometimes there will be 1 second, or usually it's less than half a second delay, but sometimes it'll be up to a second or even 2 seconds long, the delay. Sometimes one of us will cut out for the other. If Bill and I start to talk at the same time, it's not the same as in real life. If I see him start talking, I could just back off or apologize and say, go ahead, man. But if we start talking at the same time on the podcast, we won't find out, or during a Let's Play, we won't know until like half a second in at the earliest, and then it can become awkward who talks next, because we're letting the other person go first, etc. No, it sounds like a minute thing, but when you're recording, let's say, a 3 or 4 hour long Let's Play, and there's a lot of back and forth, that can become a thing that you have to work around. So in light of this, Bill and I have a set of sort of like rules. I say rules, they're not like written rules. It's just kind of like, it's something that we've agreed to, where like, okay, if one of us starts talking, the other can like stop talking if they want, and the other person who's talking doesn't need to stop talking. They just can keep going, because we can always cut the person who's accidentally interrupting out completely.
Yeah.
Because we record our audio separately, we have our audio on separate channels. And even during Let's Plays, we make sure we record, obviously, the gameplay on one channel, Bill's vocals on one channel, a separate one, and my vocals are, of course, on my end on a separate channel, too. That allows us sort of room to kind of, let's dug this person, let's dug that person. Oh, they seem to be overlapping, but it's probably a delay here. Bill meant to say this first, so let's move Bill a little bit here. Let's move Rav a little bit here. Let's dug this. Let's edit this out. So a lot of decisions like that. I don't want to get into too much detail, but that's basically most of the work pertains to that.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably the way to phrase that would be that we're like a lot more emphasis on audio editing within the video editing than like the average Let's Play video would be, because normally you would be working with one channel, maybe two channels, but they're recorded at the exact same time. When I say the exact same time, there's no lag in between them. So you can almost treat those two as like one entity. Whereas like this one, you now have like two entities. You see what I'm saying? Like it'll be one track here, one track there. And like there's going to be moments where you're going to have to like make that creative decision of like, do I cut this out with them talking, or do I leave it in? You see what I'm saying? Like, and should I move this around and it not, and it not throw off like the rest of the video?
A lot of the work happens in post. Yeah,
for sure. And like the podcast is like, I'm lucky when it comes to editing the podcast, because I can kind of do whatever with it. Like I can, if Rav says something that I can take something that Rav said and then move it back 15 to 20 seconds if it just sounds funnier there, whereas like, because there's no element of video there for the to keep it all like continuous, so with the podcast you can kind of do whatever, but with the Let's Play videos it seems to be a little bit more difficult, because you have to keep that continuity of what's going on the screen versus like, just free form with this, where I can literally, and I will, just to show you, I'm going to take something that Rav said and move it into a place, and you'll say, that's weird. Why is he saying it there? I'm going to do that this episode. Just keep you on your toes, because I like you. I like you as a listener, and I want to just make sure that you are aware of what I can do, the power that I hold. I am God.
I don't want to go shit in the woods because a mountain lion will rip my dick off. So it's true. It's something that I definitely want to make crystal clear. We're not looking for an editor for the whole channel. We're just looking for an editor for the Let's Plays. For the live action stuff, I'll continue to be the editor for that kind of stuff. Bill will continue editing the podcasts. We just need someone to help us out with the Let's Play stuff, because otherwise I don't have time to actually do my job, which is music, right?
You're not touching my fucking podcast. Get your mitts off of this. I'm the god here. No one can do what I do.
And with the podcast, you do have those two channels, right? You do have Bill's vocal channel and my vocal channel. With the Let's Plays, there will be 3. So for those who are aware, again, for those who are not initiated in the whole editing stuff, this might be kind of boring or hopefully somewhat enlightening. But for those who are familiar with editing, you may know that some people, at least in the past, have done this. They recorded everything on a single channel. Bad practice, but a lot of Let's Players back in the day did that, especially if you had no face cam, right? You would just be recording something that would be recording your vocals and the video game, just everything that happened on your computer, your friends on Skype or Discord or whatever, everything would be captured at once, and so there would be very little in the way of editing. This was quite a popular form of editing 8-7 years ago.
Yes.
These days, it's more common for people to separate everything onto 2 channels. You have the vocals on one, and you have the video, the Let's Play audio and everything on a separate channel. And so if you're familiar with this, then you will be familiar with the concept of syncing up, which means syncing up the audio, let's say the Let's Player and the Let's Play audio itself. You don't just throw both of those files in at the same time because maybe you started recording your vocals a bit earlier before you started capturing your screen or whatever, right? Or the other way around. So what you do is oftentimes you'll do a quick sync up. You'll go into a menu and you'll jump between sections and go, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that. And then you sync that up with the audio, then you cut those pieces out, and then you just kind of move on, and voila, your vocals are in sync with your video. Now, with us, it's 3 channels again. So we actually have 2 sync ups that we do at the start of every Let's Play. And the first one is the one that we also do for the podcast. We do a countdown, and we do 3, 2, 1, go, and on go, we both clap, and then we sync those claps up. So this is pretty common practice even in Hollywood, but yes, that's how we sync our audio up. But as I said earlier, even with that sync up, you'll have audio issues because there's a delay. So for instance, let's say we're syncing it up to my clap. It will sound like maybe I'm not interrupting Bill as much as he is interrupting me. It doesn't mean he's more rude. It just we're syncing it up to mine, so the delay seems more obvious, as if that Bill is being delayed rather than me. And if we sync it up the other way around, you'll notice the contrary.
Yes.
And so we do that sync up, and then we do Bill. Then after we do the clap, Bill then goes through the menus, does the video game sync up with his audio. And then at the end of the playthrough, he saves the files, uploads them. There'll be like 40 gigs per file sometimes. Uploads them. I eventually get those files. I grab his files, so his audio and his Let's Play with the audio and the video, and my audio. And then I try to sync everything up. That takes 5 to 10 minutes, potentially. Although now I think it ordinarily takes 2 to 4 minutes because I've gotten better at it. Bill has gotten better at syncing up. I've gotten better at understanding how to edit it, etc. And then most of the editing takes place then and there. I just go through everything and I decide what to cut, what not to cut. My process might not be the most efficient one. I actually edit an audition first, then in Premiere. This is because, as you guys may have noticed, we are rappers. We come from a background of working with audio. To us, it's important that we sound good. Now, a lot of Let's Players, the reason some people record on a single channel is because they don't give a shit about how their vocals sound. They're recording on a decent mic, so they think, that's it, that's good. That's the best I can get out of my microphone. When in reality, it'll be missing compression and stuff like that. And so a few years ago, there's companies that released, it seems like it was tailored for podcasters and Let's Players. It would be audio interfaces that would come with compression on it and noise gates and everything. Mm-hmm. These are really bad. I mean, they're not because they're going to be standardized and they're going to be applied the same way across everything. But it works for a lot of people because, again, it means there's no audio editing that they need to concern themselves with.
Right.
The Game Grumps, they record everything on 2 channels. They have the audio recording of the Aaron and Dan playing. On the separate channel, they have the video game stuff. Once Aaron and Dan stuff is recorded, it's run through an effects rack that's been set up that basically mainly dynamic processing. That basically compresses their vocals and makes everything sound good, makes sure that nothing peaks, makes sure that nothing too quiet goes undetected. It basically levels the audio out. We do the same thing, but we sort of play it by ear. For some episodes, on some episodes, we will mistakenly, record me too quietly and Bill a bit too loud, and his fan will be a little too loud, or my fan will somehow come through, or whatever the case may be. So I adjust to that. For the most part, I think we're pretty good with our levels now that I don't have to deal with it too much, but sometimes it is a thing that we deal with. If we were to get an editor, we would, of course, share our go-to effects racks with them and show how to tweak the minute little things that would be really easy to tweak just to adjust to the type of episode that they're doing. Or we would even run them through effects racks ourselves on our end before sending the files over.
Yeah. So it'll be like, basically the idea is to all of those like margins for error, like with technology or even ourselves. I think our job is to minimize those errors, or at least the margin for them, so
yeah.
Then that's like less work on whoever's editing the episode. And also just like not even less work, but it makes it to where, because there won't be the limitations of like certain things, like with lag, if we try to minimize lag with the way we sync things up or like other things, I think it also makes it to where there's like the possibility for like more funny edits and stuff like that, because they're not like sitting there worried about like, oh, this person was like coughing all over on their side or whatever. I don't know. Like it's just a little bit more room for like creative freedom, and because like the whole point is to be like funny and interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And we kind of get better as we go along. I mean, there's some obvious tricks of the trade that we've learned from being rappers. For instance, when you want to scream or get loud, you move away from your mic. If you want to whisper or get quiet, you get closer to the mic if you want to get picked up. So there's things like that, but sometimes you might scream and back away, but it'll still peak. And so you have to know what you're going to do in the face of that. And our jobs when we record is to minimize the work for the editor, whether it's Bill or me, because it makes for a more efficient process overall. And if we get an editor, best believe we would, of course, try to make it as easy as possible. Or like we try to eliminate unnecessary work, I guess, from the workflow.
Yes.
And so, so I go through audition, and let's say I've got everything sounds good. The levels all sound good. I then start editing. So I go through, I've obviously removed the whole first part. I put a marker at the start of where the episode starts, saying welcome back to Chibi Chubby or whatever. I move the marker there because it shows me, okay, that's where the episode starts. Then I go through the different parts, and then sometimes I'll come across parts where I'm like, okay, well, this part is unnecessary. I'm just going to jump to a little later here. So what I'll do is I'll put a marker where I want to start the cut. Then I'll put the second marker where I want the cut to finish, where I want it to resume, right? And in between those two markers, I will mute the audio, and you'll see why. So I do this for across all of the episode. That's basically where I do most of my that's what most of my work is. And if you guys are familiar with Audition or editing videos in Audition, you can actually have the video preview in Audition as you edit. It's actually very convenient for that. Same for voice acting. Audition's really great for that kind of stuff. And then sometimes I'll also put markers in places where I don't want cuts, but I maybe want to edit something in. Maybe I want a funny sound effect, or I want a visual. Now, if it's just a sound effect with no visual, I could just go ahead and do that in Audition. But if I want it to be accompanied by a visual, I'll wait until I move into Premiere, because I don't want there to be any discrepancies in the timing between the visual and the auditory experience. And I'll put a lot of those markers throughout. And sometimes I'll put markers in places where I want to put something in that's funny, but I don't have it fully realized in my head yet. It's just an idea. I go through and I finish everything. I finish the entire session, which will ordinarily be somewhere between 4 and kind of... Okay, let's just say it can be up to 2-3 hours long, right?
Yeah.
And so editing that takes a while. That may take me the full day or a couple of days. Usually if I really focus and zone in on it and everything, I can knock it out in one day. And then on the following day, I then I export the audio, and I only export Bill's and my audio. I mute the video game, just exporting the audio as an MP3. And then I move it into Premiere, and I line it up with the video, the Let's Play video that has its own audio and everything, right? I line them up, and then I move. The great thing is, because you're loading the audio up that you edited in Audition in Premiere, you'll see all the markers. So you can use the slicing tool, and it'll kind of like lock into the places where you have the markers. It can kind of predict where it thinks you're going to want to cut. And so it's pretty easy. I cut the first chunk out because, as you guys might have guessed, the first chunk is usually us syncing everything up. It's not necessary. We cut that out. And then I go through and I'll see like lots of markers. And in between a lot of markers, I'll see the silence. Those are the ones where I know, like, oh, these I just need to remove. I just need to cut these out. I cut, delete, move the I don't know, waves, the files, together and everything. And I keep doing that. And then for the markers where it's not supposed to be cuts, it's supposed to be, funny visual effects or sound effects, I then go through and do that. Now, while I'm still on the subject of just removing those silences and everything, that doesn't take long at all. You can do all of that, even though if you have like 3 hours of footage and just a bunch of cuts, you can remove all those cuts in under 10 minutes and move all the files in the correct place. Also, while I'm in Premiere, I'll make sure that the audio levels are fine. I sometimes boost our vocals up a little bit. My reference point is the intro. The intro, the outro, those things, those assets, they're kind of set assets to kind of allow us a consistency across all episodes. So the intro, outro, they're already in the Premiere file. So I just align everything up in accordance with them. And then I move the outro where I want it. But what I do is, like, I listen to how loud the intro is, and I kind of see, like, does it get too quiet after that? Then I boost our vocals up. Are we way louder than the intro? Then something's wrong. And just kind of level those out, because what you don't want happening is someone listening to Let's Play, turning their volume up, and then the outro comes in and, blows their eardrums out. It can happen.
I actually like that. I like that experience. It just makes me feel like I'm living on the edge at every moment,
So I do that, and then once I've had all the cuts, I go through the remaining markers, and I see what kind of effects I want to put in place. And for all of those things, you guys have seen all the kinds of edits I've done in the past. Up until a year ago, when we first started this channel, I never really edited. I never used Premiere in my life and everything, so I kind of learned by fucking around and kind of guessing. I have some Photoshop knowledge. I obviously have audio editing knowledge because I've been a rapper for a long time. So I just applied those skills to Premiere, because if you understand audio editing, if you understand Photoshop, you can grasp Premiere pretty quickly. Video editing isn't too different. It's just you have to adapt in certain ways. Fortunately, also, these days, there's so much information available out there, so many YouTube videos that can show you all the tricks that you may want to employ in your editing.
All the tricks of the trade.
So I definitely refer to those. And then edit, and then I export them in chunks and episodes, of course. Again, everything I'm listing doesn't mean this is the most efficient process. This has been my process up until now. I'm just, again, someone who's not, I never studied video editing.
Never studied a thing in your life.
Never studied a thing in my life. I've seen Matt edit over the past couple of years. I've seen a few times where he's been editing, and I kind of glanced over his shoulder, and I picked up a few things from that. But for the most part, really, it's just kind of jumping in and trying everything out yourself. And that's the fun part. The video editing stuff, it's actually kind of fun, and it doesn't take that long, in my opinion. Not anymore for me, because now I know the kind of stuff I want to achieve and how to do it.
You get a rhythm, like with anything, I guess, and like that probably would not be an exception for whoever would be editing for us. It might be a little bit more difficult at first because it's a little bit an unorthodox setting because of the way that we record, across the country, the way that we record across the world from each other,
Definitely.
It might be a little bit of an effort getting used to, but I think that once you get that rhythm going down, I mean, even speaking from like editing the podcast, like I can edit the podcast so much faster, and I know a lot more now. I think I'm just a lot better at it now, just through trial and error and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and I think it would be the same with video editing,
Yeah, absolutely. That work on the thumbnails afterwards. So the thumbnail stuff, again, just a heads up, I'll be working on that most of the time. Sharky is an angel, and sometimes Sharky just hits me up and has made thumbnail art just because Sharky is like the best. But for the most part, I work on the thumbnail art, and I will continue to do so going forward. That takes a while, and I'm very particular with how I handle the visual side of things. Bill knows that I've always had that. Like, that's always been a thing for me, even before we started the channel, for years when we were making music and everything. I'm a very visual guy, and kind of like to get involved in that regard. So I definitely want to continue to be a part of that, I think. And yeah, and then, the metadata, which just at this point I have templates for Let's Plays, podcasts, etc. out there, and I just kind of remove certain. I just put in new metadata on top of it that complements whatever we're playing. So if we're playing Minecraft, I have our go-to tags, Rav, Bill, Chibi Chubby, and then misspelled variations of Chibi Chubby, Rav, and Bill, because people oftentimes type really fast when they're searching for something, and there are very popular ways of misspelling or when you rush things, and including those as your metadata tags is actually advisable. So we have all of that by default, and then on top of that I will add like, okay, Minecraft playthrough, no mods, whatever, stuff that I think like, okay, what corresponds with this playthrough or what corresponds with this video. And then we have our links and everything, and on the top of the links usually a little blurb I add. Sometimes it'll be funny quotes, stupid shit, abstract stuff, sometimes descriptive notes, and last but not least, the title itself. Mm-hmm. So we have a convention of how we name things and everything, but the one thing that changes is the title of each episode is unique, and this helps people going back. And let's say you want to rewatch Oregon Trail, you'll know, like by the title, you can kind of remember, like, oh, that's right, it was this episode where Bill killed this person or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
where Bill ruined everything for everyone.
It helps you identify the episodes a lot easier because we understand or remember words, phrases, and stuff like that better than just numbers. You might not remember in which episode a character dies or gets a new tool. Is it 3 or 4? You think it might be 3 or 4, but it could also be 5. But if you remember the title or vaguely kind of see the title and understand, like, oh, that's right, it's the same in that episode this happens, but also the other thing I'm looking for happens. It's just an easier identifier. So we do that. Then we schedule the episodes, usually upload episodes way in advance. We record them way in advance. Ordinarily, I would say roughly a month in advance. And then we edit them and upload them way in advance, and then we schedule everything ahead of time so that we can continue doing new stuff, editing new stuff, and not feeling like we're behind at any point. So what was supposed to be kind of like a general overview ended up being a little bit more detailed than I I wanted it to be initially, I think. But I hope it helps demonstrate the kind of work that it involves. And the reason I wanted to do that is I wanted to be forthcoming. I don't want people to think that editing for us is going to be as easy as it would be editing for a channel where the two guys are in the same room recording on the same channel, the audio channel, right? Or as easy as someone who's recording on a single channel, all the audio, right? So it's more so that. It's not even that we need a whole lot, like, I don't know, edit-heavy content. Because you look at the parkour series, for instance, and it has there's episodes, such as episode 3, that has quite a lot of edits. It's pretty, I would say, a somewhat edit-heavy episode. But then you have entire series like Oregon Trail, which aren't edit-heavy at all, and they work as like what they are. You know, you have to be adaptable. I don't want to be one of those channels where they're so sporadic and chaotic, and they like cut every 2 seconds. There isn't a moment, like no room to breathe at all. Just a bunch of memes and loud noises thrown in and everything. It's not the type of stuff that I gravitate towards myself, so it's not the stuff that I want to put out there. I think Bill would agree. I kind of like the more relaxed conversational approach.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with having like a few episodes that are edit heavy, but even in that case, like just because it's edit heavy doesn't mean chaotic. You know, it doesn't mean like, I mean, you guys aren't dumb. You know, I'm making an assumption there, but like you guys could watch how Rav edits the episodes now, and just like, although, I mean, obviously you'd want to put your own little spin on things because like we're not trying to stifle people.
Definitely.
But like use that as a blueprint of like kind of what we're looking for, you know, and it's you know, who knows, like we could find an editor that like we love and is like a part of the team that, you know, we look at as, you know, as a big part of the process. Instead of just being an editor, it's almost like a part of the creative process.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we're looking for, really, you know, is like someone who's like a part of the shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say if you're really interested to see the type of editing that we do, I would check out Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes for an example of very few edits. Mm. But even then, you know, again, because you guys aren't seeing the stuff behind the scenes, there are certain things we dug here and there. There's a lot of maybe audio-heavy edits that don't come across apparent, and you don't want them to be apparent because we want everything to seem seamless. That might be there. But for the most part, I would say that is one of the lightest series in terms of editing. And then I would recommend checking out Minecraft Parkour, or even... Yeah, I would say the Parkour Minecraft series is a good example of something that's got more editing in it, that is a little bit more active. There's a lot more cuts and stuff, and yet also it's not overwhelming, you know, it's not obnoxious, I would like to think. So I would use those as examples. And another thing that I want to be upfront about is at the moment, we're still sort of discussing how we're going to fund having an editor, because at the moment, as you guys know, we just got monetized, and, you know, we're not the biggest channel just yet. So we're not...
Move over, PewDiePie. We're coming.
We're not making...
We're coming.
We're not really making much at all at the moment, which is fine. But we do intend to... I mean, I don't think it's a secret, right? I think at this point people probably know, but we do intend to start a Patreon soon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when we do, hopefully soon. We're working on so much stuff, but we hope to get that out soon, because once we have the Patreon, we hope to have a way to fund having an editor. That's kind of, at least at the moment, since... Maybe this is too much information. I don't know. If you feel like it's too much sharing, then feel free to delete this part, Bill. But we are looking for a way to have an editor join the team and not us feel like we're just taking advantage of their goodwill, you know? We want to be able to work with someone and feel like they're getting paid for their work.
Well, I think the idea behind that is we want somebody who is motivated and could do this. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a full-time job. You know what I mean? It is a bit of a, you know, I mean, Rav can attest to that. Literally every time I talk to Rav, I'll be like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Oh, I've just been editing all day.
Right. And with me, the thing is, it's like I allocate a certain amount of hours to work per day, between 8 and 9 hours each working day, right? And we edit. I edit throughout most of that day. Then I'll be recording a lot of stuff with you. And if I have any time left over, I work on the music side of things and the business side of things that we do on the side. And for the rest of my time, it's all personal time. I think if we had an editor, they wouldn't have to do all of that. But there would be at least, I would say, 10 days a month of just like intense 8 hours a day of editing. And if you think you're able to do 10 days a month of 9 to 5, just editing, then yeah, I would say just be aware of that. Be aware of the expectations in that regard. Be aware of the expectations in terms of how much involved the editing process is, but also how much time it will take and what our financial plan is to have an editor join our team.
Yes. We do want to find someone that we can grow with. The idea is to be that we want someone who, I don't know, I look at other channels and they'll have an editor that they like talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want that kind of relationship, like someone who like the people know like who it is and it's like a part of the whole shit.
Oh yeah. Honestly, there's like when Game Grumps, I'm going to use Game Grumps as an example because I feel like not enough people give the Game Grumps their dues, but they kind of revolutionized the way that Let's Plays are carried out. Not just the fact that they split their episodes in 10-minute segments, 10-minute-ish segments where they have an intro and ending and everything. That's actually quite revolutionary and genius in itself because it allows people to take breaks in between episodes and everything, not just have to record everything in chunks, and also gives it more of like a sequential feel to them. But also, it never felt like, even at the start, it never felt like it was truly a two-man team. It was always like 3 people. Like even back when Barry was the editor. Mm-hmm. Let's say you had Dan and Aaron playing a game. Dan's saying something, Aaron is saying something, and then you'd see Barry edit something in, or the guys would interact with Barry as if he was this like other entity there that couldn't speak, that couldn't, say anything out loud, but would write stuff and edit things in visually and everything. And that was genius. That was brilliant. And it kind of felt, I don't know. That's what stuck with me the most. I always found that the most entertaining, and I always loved the sense of like camaraderie, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Between, I don't want to have someone who's just like, oh, they work for us, that's the end, and they're like, no, they are part of the Chibi Chubby team.
That is definitely the mindset that I have, that you have, and hopefully what the people out there have. I hope that they all think the same way that we do. I hope we all think the exact same way about everything and have a hive mind. I hope that when I'm hungry, you're hungry. When I'm jizzing, you're jizzing.
So if you're interested in applying, so this is the part that matters. If I should, I don't know. Maybe I should have included this at the start, but I think it makes more sense giving you guys the background information first so that you know what you're signing up for. But if you wish to apply, then please email us at chibichubbycontact@gmail.com. And just tell us what your experience is with editing. If you can attach some examples, that would be really appreciated. Say what you expect from working as an editor, as part of the Chibi Chubby team means to you. What would it mean to you? What do you want out of it? And yeah, then await further instructions. We're basically going to wait a little bit, maybe a week or two, to collect applications from people. And then we're going to go ahead and send out instructions as to how to take it further. because what we're going to do most likely is provide you guys with a Google Drive link to a Let's Play, but the files, just the files, the raw files, and kind of let you guys have at it. Also giving you the necessary, the intro asset, the outro audio and VHS effect, just so that you guys have everything you need to get started with the editing, let you guys have at it, and then upload them privately on YouTube and email us those private links, and yeah, and then we'll kind of go through them one by one and see, based on, of course, your emails, what you guys have said to us, and on the edits that you've made. We're going to sort of look through those and make a decision based off of all those factors. Am I missing anything, Bill?
Oh, also, you have to send a picture of yourself, but you have to Photoshop a mullet on your head.
Oh yeah, that you have to do that.
If you don't do that, we'll kill you.
Yeah. In reality, and if you don't feel comfortable being in front of a camera, then Photoshop a mullet on Bill.
Then we'll kill you.
But maybe not if you Photoshop a mullet onto Bill, which is also absolutely acceptable.
Bro, I've been growing my hair out. Have I talked about this in the podcast about how I have hair now?
Let's talk about that. Tell me.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
You don't
That's
have to
how I
mock
talk.
me. Wow.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, I've been I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I've been growing my hair out. I did have it like shorter on the sides, and now it's just kind of grown out entirely. I think I'm gonna get a haircut this week and get it like a fade on the sides and just leave it longer up top, because I like it a lot more, actually. Like at first I thought I wasn't gonna dig, because to full disclosure for people who don't know, there was a time in my life where I had some like Justin Bieber hair, like when I was in like high school.
When he says Justin Bieber hair, he says like YouTube era Justin Bieber hair.
Like I had it like kind of flipped out on the side. It wasn't like a bowl cut, it was just like a shaggy kind of, like, it's like if a bowl cut went crazy. You know what I mean? Like, and it was always in I had bangs. It was always in my eyes. I'd be flipping it out of my eyes. You know, just like real. You know, it was something. So I was joking with my girl about how like I haven't had bangs in forever. You know, I've always been like, because like I remember I cut my hair. I got in like this really bad breakup when I was like 19. I just like shaved my head. Like I was like, I'm gonna shave my head, and I went and got it like a military style, like a high and tight, you know, and then it just kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know about that. Damn.
Yeah. I got it. I went and you know how it is, man. Like it's like girls do that shit too. I mean, I guess guys do too, but like when they're going through it, they dye their hair.
Oh yeah. Oh, my ex one day, she just calls me up and she cut all her hair. Like she cut it super short. And it was cute, but I was so stressed out and scared. I was like, oh shit, something's happening.
Yeah. That's never good. It's never good when you have like a giant hair shift, you know, like that. Like, I think it's different with dudes. Actually, I don't know. I can't speak for that, but I think that it seems to be, it's like a joke with like my girl. She's just like, she just dyed her hair. She must be going through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I joke around like that with my girl too.
Yeah, so yeah, but I got my hair shaved, not like shaved off, but it was definitely like a high and tight. It was very, very short, and
like a number 1 or number 2 or something like that.
Yeah. It was a 1 and then 0 on the sides.
Okay.
And I've just like kept it like that for the longest time, and then like I noticed I look like way younger when I have hair, like when it's not like cut super short.
Oh really?
And so now, yeah, I feel like anyway, people say that I look younger.
Yeah,
so,
I could see that.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to like keep that youth in me, you know. So I've been growing it out. It's still like, I don't know. It's just like because it's so. I'll post pictures when it's like ready. It's not ready yet.
Yeah. You should keep growing it out, and then like if you have long enough hair, maybe you could like even curl it and shit.
I'll get a perm.
Some fucking Jerry curls. Oh, dude. Hell yeah.
I even thought about doing that YouTuber thing where it's like I grow it out on the top and then I like dye it like a funky color and I'm like, hey, I'm a YouTuber. I say, hey,
Oh,
I'm a
okay,
YouTuber.
yeah. I thought when you said YouTuber thing, I thought Logan Paul, and you just grow your hair on the back and then flip it to the front to make it look like you're not balding.
Yeah. I'll do that too.
Okay.
So that'll be a real good look. But yeah, you guys, if I grow my bangs out, then no one can make fun of my Mega Man helmet hairline because you won't be able to see it. So
That's true. But even then, like, the Mickey Mouse hairline isn't like that bad. I honestly think it's...
I know, but it's like, it's just, it's an opportunity to be roasted just because it's not like the standard.
Right, but the Vegeta hairline is kind of cool.
I do think of it as a Vegeta hairline. That's what I would tell people. But then I also look at Vegeta's hairline and I look at it
Right.
like how crazy it is. And then like I realize like
That's you.
Vegeta's straight up is not like I just have a really gnarly widow's peak. I might be receding a bit. I don't know. Like I haven't seen pictures. I haven't looked at pictures from like back.
You don't
back when.
seem like, as much as I like to roast you, but I've seen like, you years ago and I've seen you this year and like, it doesn't seem like anything's changed, honestly. I don't think you're really receding.
Yeah. I think that's just how my hair looks. So, cause like one time someone told me that they were like, wow, you got like it looks like a receding hairline. And I'm like, I mean, it's been like this since I was a child. So it's been a real slow build on that one, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, I think that, I just have a gnarly fucking widow's peak, but, but it's been growing out and, I feel like a new man. And when I say a new man, I feel like the same man, but with different hair.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's sick.
Nice.
So subscribe for Mega Man helmet, Mickey Mouse hairlines. Hit that bell if that makes your balls swell.
Yeah, and hit the like button. If we can reach how many likes, Bill? How many likes do we need to reach? Pick like a sensible number.
5 million.
Okay, so let's compromise and go with if this episode gets 5,000 likes at some point later down the road, Bill will... What will you do, Bill?
Shit myself.
He will shit himself and then film himself just like a front camera, talking into the camera.
And
like,
I'll go,
moments after shitting himself. And he has to stay on camera for like a minute or two before he cleans his pants. And he has to just like comment
I love it.
on how he's feeling.
I love it. Yeah. And, I think it'll be good. That whole thing you just said, that's real fucking cool, man. So like, would you fuck Godzilla?